and welcome back to Burlap Lace and Pines. Today I'm going to give you a garden tour. I'm going to discuss what I'm growing this year, what's new to us, what we've been growing for years, and what we're having fun with. So follow along. So today I'm going to be sharing you a realistic Wisconsin garden in middle of August. And we have always tried to keep our garden reasonably weed free, but this year there's been a lot on our plates, and so we've not necessarily tackled those weeds as hard as we do some years. And as we've been diving into foraging this year, we're also learning that a lot of the weeds actually have value. And so we've kind of been just wanting to let some stuff go, see what comes up, what stuff we might actually be interested in foraging. So you're going to see a pretty green garden, and that's okay. As far as our first section of the garden here, this is one of the original beds that we did put in. And this is one of the two beds we grew garlic in last fall and into this summer. After that garlic was harvested, we went ahead and did some sowing for hopefully getting a fall garden. We've not normally done much planting after that initial planting at the end of May, beginning of June, but in hopes of actually extending our growing season this year, we went ahead and planted a few more things. I have lettuce planted on that side of the garden. It didn't really sprout too well, so looks like I need to reseed that. I have some more peas along here, and then I have a row of spinach and then more carrots. The kids love picking it right out of the garden, eating the carrots, so that's mostly what I grow them for. We also have a few blueberry plants, blueberry plants down along there, and hopefully those will continue growing and we'll have some nice blueberry harvest in the future. So the second bed is actually a new one we put in this year. This bed we decided to plant a lot of our leeks and onions in, as well as we have some peas growing on this trellis, but we've already pulled them out and then reseeded a new row that'll hopefully do well yet this fall. So one of the new things we did this year is we've grown onions for quite a few years, and we're always going for that nice big onion, and it's just not happened for us. And this year I was reading that due to how onions cycle works with your first year, your second year, and then seeding out, that we should actually probably consider trying to plant onions from seed. And so that's what I did this year. I started leeks, red onions, and yellow onions all from seed. But unfortunately, I did my research and figured out this is what I wanted to try about 2 months too late. So while everything is growing and doing pretty good, it's definitely not going to be super big. With that being said, I'm very happy with our leeks this year. They look really nice and healthy. They're really green, and I'm really excited for this crop. It's really going well for us. We then have some radishes just past here, and normally we just pick them all and we eat them, but one thing I learned this year was that radish seed pods are edible and actually almost taste better than radish. So I'm like, hey, let's let these go. So you can see our radishes going down here, and then beyond that we have our red onion. Unfortunately, as with any learning curve, we are not going to have a huge red onion harvest this year, but we definitely have some that are looking really nice and big and developing some nice big bulbs on the end. So I'm excited for our red onions from seed this year. For the second half of this bed, we had lettuce here in the beginning front, which of course is now bolted and been picked and fed to the chickens. And I have reseeded some lettuce. And then down here, I have some carrots that I planted early spring. We don't do a ton of carrots for our family. We don't can carrots, but I am hoping to dice and then freeze or dehydrate some carrots to be able to toss in things like stir fry or a little bit of soup this year. And something that is new for us to grow this year is actually salsa free. It's this grass-like looking thing here. It's a root veggie that's actually supposed to taste like an oyster. So I'm kind of excited for that. I'm really excited to harvest that and try that one. Then I've got some more carrots growing here. And then we get to a fun part. So this guy right here is actually a wasabi radish. It's supposed to taste similar to a wasabi. It's actually a green radish. It's kind of fun. We harvested a few, and it was kind of fun. My husband really enjoyed this one. So the rest of this bed here is mostly beets.
I've got some different type of beets here. I believe these ones are my white beets that I should be able to use as a sugar beet. So that's kind of exciting. I've got some, these guys, they're a very red beet. So that's also a real fun one to eat. I've got some golden beets in here. These guys with these yellow stems, all the golden beets. And then I also have some giant monstrosity ones that I got from Baker's Creek. You can kind of see how big that guy is looking to be. So those are going to be some fun beets to harvest.
So this section here is pinto beans. We've been experimenting for the last couple of years on growing dried beans. Beans are obviously a great source of protein, and they work pretty good here in our climate. So we just grow these guys, we plant them, we let them grow, and then once they're reached full maturity, the plants die back, you pick the beans, you let them dry, and it's a very easy crop to do. So this is 3 rows of pinto beans. We do have some herb beans here that I can't remember the name for right now. But
Savory.
There, my husband remembered that. Savory. We do have some savory growing in here. We read that it would be a good companion planting, so we're just trying that out. Otherwise, that's pretty much what that one is. This next section along here, we have all of our summer squash. And for the first couple, I have some patty pan. Those are new summer squash to us. I call them our alien squash because it looks like an alien UFO that came out of the sky and landed here. It's totally fun. I enjoy them. They're a white squash. I got them from Baker's Creek. And then I have some summer squash, that traditional yellow summer squash, and then a bunch of zucchini. We're kind of having a struggle year with summer squash. Our first couple of plants have done pretty good on producing the patty pans and summer squash. And then the zucchini is just not there. We've gotten a few, but it's not been a great producer for us this year. Otherwise, we have our cucumbers back here on the trellis. We've got a couple different, I've got some classic pickling and then some pickling, slicing combinations. Everything's been producing pretty good on the cucumbers. We've been enjoying a lot of freezer pickles or refrigerator pickles this year. So past the cucumbers, we do have 2 rows of okra. And while we have had success growing okra here in Wisconsin, and we've gotten them quite tall, my height, this year the okra is in some not as good soil in our garden. We have a lot of sandy soil and it has not done well. We are getting a very small harvest, but that is as much okra as we're probably going to get. However, here's another new crop we're growing this year. This one is amaranth. It is a crop that grows grain. So I chose a specific crop that is supposed to actually grow almost a pound of grain per plant. And it's a totally experimental crop for us, and we're quite excited to try it this year. It'll be produce a yellow flour with all that grain. We're going to be able to use it for the family, for chickens. We'll see. I do have a row of sunflowers in the back, which only about 3 of them came up, and then some sorghum. And I just not thinking the sorghum's going to work out this year, but this was kind of our experimental area. Otherwise, we also then have a few more beds over here. This is one of our new beds along here. We have the yellow onions running along the right-hand side of this bed. They've, again, as I was talking earlier, we grew them some seed, and I don't think they're going to perform absolutely amazingly this year, but it's still been a great experiment. And then I had a row of green beans that were ready to actually start feeding to the chickens because they're done producing. And at the very end, I have some kidney beans, another dried bean. We've grown them in the past and they've not done spectacular here yet, but this year it looks like they're actually going to do really good. So I'm excited for those. Otherwise, in this last bed over here, you can see this trellis bean. It's another dried bean, and it's actually a rattlesnake bean. And they're really pretty. They look kind of splotched and red-like, and it's been a lot of fun to grow these guys. So these guys are going to be a dried bean. We'll be going ahead and harvesting them and using them in various dishes. Even inside, the seeds are actually really pretty. They're kind of like a splotchy purple one right now. So they're really fun and a lot of fun. So that's our tour for today. And in another week, we'll go ahead and give you another tour of the rest of the garden. We'll discuss our cole crops, our tomatoes, as well as our winter squash and some of my herb beds. Have a good one.